everyone, my name is Marie, welcome to my channel, and welcome to another speed build. So for today's video, we're doing another Harry Potter inspired build, and this is going to be 12 Grimmauld Place, which is a very iconic home in the Harry Potter series. If you are watching these speed builds, this particular Harry Potter series that I'm doing, I feel like you're familiar with Harry Potter and you know all these houses, all these builds that we're doing. You're probably familiar with them, but we're going to just talk about it and I'm going to explain to you what this house is, of course, as well, to the best of my abilities. I feel like this one in particular is a pretty complicated one. It's a house that only gets shown or is introduced later on in the books and in the movies, therefore, of course, as well. It's not until Harry's godfather, Sirius Black, actually basically enters the stage, so to speak, and that's not until a little bit later. So I'll explain all that in a little while, of course. But in case you're wondering what the heck is going on, so 12 Grimmauld Place is essentially a really old townhouse in the city center of London. So that's why we're building in Britechester here. I'm going to be turning this into a really old townhouse tucked away into two neighboring townhouses. That's sort of what it's like in the series too. I think it's definitely a row of multiple townhouses, not just 3 of them, if I'm remembering correctly, but I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, I just did 3 of them because it'd be nice. I felt like it'd be nice to have it tucked away in between 2 to really get the vibe across of what this house is and what it looks like. So that's what we are going to be doing here. And immediately I started by messing around with the floor plan because I knew that that was going to be pretty difficult to figure out, essentially. So you can watch me figuring out the walls, the stairs, the landing areas. It's going to be a 5-story house because we do also have a basement. So yeah, there's a lot of stories. It's going to be very tall, and I was trying to figure out how to make it work with the staircases and stuff. So as you can see, it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of me messing around. I found some really good inspiration for this to help me figure out the floor plan. I would not have been able to do this on my own, but I just went on Pinterest and I looked for a bunch of 12 Grimmauld Place layouts or floor plans essentially, and I found a few, so I picked one and that's what I went with. I'm not sure how close it is to the house that we see in the movies, but this is something that I found on Pinterest that I thought was nice to work with. And the fun part about these houses is they're not only represented in the movies, also in the books. So it's kind of like, okay, I can give my own spin to what I see in the movies, because what you see in the movies isn't necessarily, what it was supposed to look like exactly, because it was also in the books, if that makes any sense. So it's kind of nice to find a middle ground between the books, the movies, my own imagination, and also whatever looks best in The Sims, because obviously that is something I have to take into consideration as well. So that is what we're doing here. And for the floor plan I was working off of, it showed that the hallway was a 4-story tall ceiling hallway. So that's what I really try to embrace, which is why the landings, the upper floors, are a little bit smaller. And that was why the floor plan, me creating the floor plan, was definitely a lot of trial and error. We also have a lot of staircases going on. So yeah, it was a whole mess. I figured it out in the end, but it definitely took me a second. But of course, towards the end of the video, I will give you a tour of the place and I will show you the entire floor plan in real time. Just to show you around. But here you can see I'm messing around with the exterior. I was really trying to go for that townhouse look and feel with a nice facade here for the roof line, as you can see. And we're building this in Britechester, which always sort of reminds me of Amsterdam. I'm from the Netherlands and I'm very familiar with Amsterdam. And this Britechester always sort of looks like that to me. And I felt like that would be the right location to build 12 Grimmauld Place. I was kind of going back and forth between Britechester, the Discover University world, or Ravenwood, which is the life and death world, because I do like the vibe of that world, and it definitely suits the style and the lore of the Black family house, so 12 Grimmauld Place. So that would have worked nicely as well, but it is supposed to just be in London. So I felt like Britechester would be a nice fit for that. It doesn't exactly look like London, but it kind of looks familiar, similar to Amsterdam, and I feel like it kind of holds the middle between Amsterdam-like cities like London as well, so I'm not exactly sure. But I just figured that this would be a nice lot to sit down and try to create 12 Grimmauld Place, which is exactly what we're doing. And you can see that, yeah, it definitely was a little bit of trial and error trying to figure out the window situation. That was pretty tough. Trying to figure out a layout, and then of course we also have the basement. I was definitely running into some issues with the basement, which we're not going to pay too much attention to, because when I when I mention it, you probably can't unsee it really, even though it's not that visible in this speed build, thankfully. But yes, this house is on a pretty tall foundation. And what happens when you have a basement and a foundation is that there will be like this weird looking gap sort of in between the basement and the ceiling of the floor, like the floor above it, essentially. I'm not sure if that is making any sense, but you can see it by the staircase, and it just like, it's so annoying. I thought I knew a way to fix it. I thought if you just selected the basement and moved it up, then that would kind of fix it. But the only thing it did was it messed with my terrain. So I'm not sure if what I'm explaining makes any sense to you, but it was a really weird situation that I just couldn't fix, unfortunately. So that's something that we just have to deal with, and we're going to just do our best to ignore the weird looking void between the basement and the floor above it by the staircase. Thankfully, it's not that visible because it's only like the tiniest portion of the build, essentially. So thankfully, it's not that bad. But yeah, it was definitely something, like an issue I was running into as I was building this. And then when I had the entire floor plan like figured out and stuff, I decided that I wanted to make the house smaller. So I made it one tile, like moved it in one tile to make it a little bit more narrow. So I basically had to redo everything, but that was fine because it wasn't that difficult to figure out. I also had made the mistake of placing a bedroom sort of like in the middle of the floor, so that would have not worked out because then you wouldn't have been able to place a window there, because obviously we're going to have neighboring houses, which is what I'm doing right now. So it was actually a good thing that I was kind of needing to like re-figure out the placement of the bedrooms and the bathrooms. But yeah, I'm just kind of trying to bring you along on the struggle, like the multiple struggles I was experiencing when I was building this house. I thought this was going to be simple because it's a pretty straightforward like townhouse kind of situation. It's just a rectangle with a floor plan essentially, but somehow this one turned out to be way more complicated than say Hagrid's hut, which is a weird octagonal shape, or the burrow, which is just like an odd shape just in general, you know? So somehow this one turned out to be a lot more difficult than that, but I'm glad that we figured it out, and I think it looks really cool. So let me tell you a little bit about 12 Grimmauld Place. Essentially, this house is location-wise, it is invisible to muggles or like wizards too, who don't know about the existence of this house, because it is concealed under what I believe is called a Fidelius charm, which I think if I'm explaining any of this correctly, it means that only people that have been told about the location of the house and like the existence of the house by the secret keeper, they know it exists and they can see it and they can enter it. So if you don't know about the existence of this house, you can't see it. And that's really cool. Like the way they describe that and the way it's shown in the movies is when Harry first visits 12 Grimmauld Place, you can see these two, essentially for what we're looking at right now, it's the two neighboring townhouses are connected. Those are neighboring townhouses, and then you can kind of see them move out of the way, and then another house appears in between them, and that's 12 Grimmauld Place. And that is just so cool. So that's essentially how it works. So these muggles living here, they don't know it exists. They can't see it. I do believe the townhouse in the middle was like, it once belonged to a muggle family, but then one of Sirius's ancestors actually persuaded them, whatever that means, you know, to leave the premises and give it to the, the Black family. I'm pretty sure they unalived them because it's the Black family. So the Black family, they aren't necessarily nice. They're not a nice family. Sirius Black, who's Harry's godfather, of course, is a good person, but he was also disowned by his family. I think he ran away from home by the time he was 16 or maybe 17, which is when you're legally an adult in the wizarding world, when you're 17. But I think around that age, he ran away from home because he disagreed with his family's beliefs and ideals. Essentially, the Black family sort of support Voldemort. So they believe in the purification of the wizarding world, meaning that they are against muggle-born wizards, half-blood wizards, that type of stuff. So essentially, they're just horrible people. They are literally horrible people. But yeah, that's their ideals. That's what they believe in. A lot of members of the Black family also became Death Eaters. We obviously have Bellatrix Lestrange. Need I say more? So yes, they're not really nice people. And then Sirius, who is the opposite of that, obviously ran away from home because he was like, I don't want to be part of this family. You suck, essentially. So he ran away from home, and I think he was actually living with Harry's dad, James Potter, for a little while when he moved out, but that part of the story at the moment is sort of like unclear to me. So I'm not sure if I'm just yapping at this point or if that is actually true. But I do think I remember him saying something like that at least for a little while he stayed with James and James's family after Sirius had run away from home. So there's a story there. And then Sirius was disowned by his family, but he still inherited the house. So apparently he wasn't disinherited for whatever reason. He was burned off the family tree, like tapestry that they have in the living room, of course, that I also tried to place or at least find something to represent that. So that's what I did. So he was burned off of the family tree, but he was not disinherited because he did inherit the house. And then later on, he actually left it to Harry. So that was nice for Harry to just, have a house, because sadly, Sirius really wasn't in Harry's life all that long. Sirius was obviously wrongly accused of unaliving 12 wizards, and also Peter Pettigrew, and then he was sent to Azkaban for 13 years, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was 13 years. I'm talking about all this stuff from the top of my head, by the way, so I probably could have Googled this beforehand, but I just like to yap in my voiceovers for my speed builds, so that's what we're doing. And I love Harry Potter. I love yapping about Harry Potter, so that's what we're doing. But yeah, I think he was in Azkaban. Isn't that what he said in Prisoners of Azkaban in the book and in the movie? He's like, I did my waiting 12 years of it? 12 years of it. I did my waiting 12 years of it. Or 13 years of it. I think it was 12. I don't know. One or the other. So yeah, he was wrongly accused of that, and then he managed to escape, which is good. And then obviously he needed to stay hidden. Sirius is an animagus, meaning that he can transform into a dog. So that's kind of basically how he stays hidden. But that's me getting a little bit sidetracked. But yeah, here you can see, by the way, back to the speed build, you can see that I'm really trying to, you can kind of tell that 12 Grimmauld Place, the house in the middle, is the odd one out. The other two houses are really nice and cutesy and bright, and the colors are lighter, and they just look very inviting and cozy. They're huge townhouses, by the way. But yeah, they just look very cozy and inviting, while 12 Grimmauld Place is really old and sort of like darker looking and just more mysterious looking, which is obviously exactly what we were going for. So yeah, it just looks like it's very magically invisible to muggles. At least that's what I was trying to achieve, and I think I did a pretty alright job. And then came, of course, the task of trying to blend it in with the surrounding area. I really wanted it to look like a London kind of square or like street or whatever. So that's what I tried to do by blending it in with lots of like tile for the surrounding lot, not just grass, but I tiled everything in. In the back, I had quite a little bit of space left, so I decided to just create a cute little play area, like a park area for kids to play, like a playground. So that's what I ended up doing, and of course I had to place lots of trees and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I'm essentially doing right now. But back to the story. Okay, so Sirius was disowned. He still inherited the house, even though he was sent to Azkaban for 12 or 13 years. And so he escaped, and obviously stuff went down, and that's when the Order of the Phoenix came back together, because obviously Voldemort came to power and we need to fight Voldemort. So that's why the Order of the Phoenix, which was already a thing in the previous war as well, but then the Order of the Phoenix is regrouping, of course, because we need to beat Voldemort and his Death Eaters. They use 12 Grimmauld Place to basically, you know, it's the Order's home. They use this to assemble, they use this to come together, talk about their plans. It's basically the Order of the Phoenix headquarters. So that's what it's used for later on. Also, after Sirius passes, and then it's Harry's house because Harry inherits the house. They still use it for the Order of the Phoenix. So that is essentially who I furnished it for as well. I didn't furnish it for the Black family because in the books and in the movies, we essentially just see the house used for the Order of the Phoenix. Obviously, it used to be the Black family's home, so they have like those old bedrooms and stuff that they just kind of are using now, but I tried to find a middle ground between that, so it's definitely furnished. I feel like they would have magically altered it, like put some extra beds in for everyone that's staying there, because for the people that are staying there, from the top of my head, of course, we have Harry, Hermione, and Ron. We have the twins, so Fred and George. There is Ginny. There's Fred and Molly Weasley. We have Remus and Tonks as well. And then, of course, Sirius as well. So there's a lot of people staying at the house. So yeah, I had to find spots to sleep for all these people. So that's essentially who I decorated this house for. And magically, no pun intended, I ended up having the exact amount of bedrooms. I didn't even think about that really. I didn't really count who exactly I needed bedrooms for and how many bedrooms I would need for all those people beforehand, like when I was working on the layout, but it just happened to work out perfectly. So that was really fun. I created a bedroom for, obviously for Harry and Ron to share. I created a bedroom for Hermione and Ginny to share, for the twins to share. There is a bedroom for Tonks and Lupin, a bedroom for Arthur and Molly, and then one for Sirius as well. So I had the right amount of bedrooms, which was so fun. Like, it was perfect the way that worked out. So that was really fun. And so that's essentially what I furnished it for. So what we're going to be doing is there is a basement, of course, as well. I was, of course, working off of a floor plan picture that I found, like I explained, and that was really, really helpful. Because, like I said, I couldn't have figured out the floor plan by myself otherwise. But essentially, I feel like what they use the most, the order, that is, they use the basement. Because down in the basement, there is a kitchen. I think in reality, it's a little smaller than what I ended up creating. I just have a basement, essentially the size of the floor, like of each floor. It's just like a rectangular townhouse, so the basement is that same size too. So it's pretty big, but downstairs we're going to have a kitchen and then also an informal living room, and that's essentially, I feel like, what they use the most. Obviously they use the bedrooms and stuff to sleep in. They sometimes come into the living room with the tapestry, like the formal living room kind of thing, but I feel like they just hang out downstairs all the time in the basement, because it's just like a little bit less creepy, a little bit less formal looking. Even though the house is very old, like there's definitely some wear and tear everywhere. We have a lot of cobwebs, a lot of cracks on the wall, a little bit of a mess here and there, you know, but still, it's just, it feels very formal, and it's not the most inviting house. Of course, like, giving its history, it's not the nicest place. Like, it doesn't have the best vibe probably either. So I feel like they just make the basement their own, and that's where they hang out the most. I also decorated it for Christmas a little bit, by the way, because obviously it is almost Christmas, and I thought that would be really fun. We do see Grimmauld Place at Christmas too in the movies, so I thought that was really fun to sort of try to represent that a little bit. So I put up a couple of Christmas trees in some of the rooms. The rooms, size-wise, aren't that big, so I didn't have the space for a Christmas tree everywhere. But I think I placed one in the basement, of course, because that's where the Order of the Phoenix hangs out, and what they try to sort of make cozy. I could totally see Molly go through the basement and like cleaning it up, making it feel like a home, even though it's a weird place to be. She would really try to make it cozy, and she would really want for everyone to feel at home. So she would really try. So obviously she would make the kitchen nice and cozy. and she would put up a Christmas tree. So I put up a Christmas tree in the basement. There's one in the formal dining room, which is on the ground level. And then there is also a Christmas tree in the formal living room, which is up on the second floor. And I think that's all I had space for, but I'm not sure. We'll see once we go through, once we get started on the interior. It took me a while to build this house, obviously, which you could probably already tell by the length of this video. But yeah, it took me a while to create this one because there's a lot of detail and just a lot to kind of take into consideration and to think about as well. And also, one of the things that right off the bat, I think that, yeah, that was one of the first things I placed on the interior is the portrait of Sirius's mom. I'm forgetting her name exactly, but I think that's the portrait of Sirius's mom or grandma, but I think it's his mother. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, that is basically the main focus point, like the main focal point of this hallway situation, and it plays a pretty big role in the books and in the movies as well because the portrait screams as well. So when you open the curtains, which is why I placed those curtains around it, the portrait I think begins to like scream. I think it's to keep non-pureblood wizards from entering the house or something like that. I think that's what it's supposed to be for. There are a lot of enchantments and just like stuff like placed on this house as well to keep it safe, of course, like the Fidelius charm being one of them. So not everyone can enter, but even before that, when it belonged to the Black family, you know, they didn't want non-pureblood wizards to enter the house. I'm pretty sure that's what that portrait is for. And then, of course, the Black family also had a house elf named Creature, which Creature was done dirty in the movies. It always makes me so sad because in the books, Creature's character has such a cool arc. But in the movies, it's just not really shown, which is kind of sad. But yeah, they have a house elf named Creature. Creature basically lives in the basement, I feel, for the most part. I did put a storage closet in the basement, which isn't something you can actually see from the inside, but I did place it downstairs. So that's what I kind of figured Creature would be living in, but I didn't really create a nook for Creature because you can't really see in the storage closet because it's an item that you place essentially. But that's what I was thinking Creature would live for the most part. But of course the whole entire house he has available to him, so he just kind of, I feel like, hangs out everywhere. But here, as you can see, we have definitely gotten started on the interior. So this first room that I'm decorating is the formal dining room, which is on the ground floor. Of course, I went for a lot of Life and Death. Life and Death was the perfect pack for this type of build. Whenever I'm going to do the Malfoy Manor, which is definitely high up on my list of Harry Potter builds that I want to do, I feel like I'll be repeating a lot of the items that I used here as well. But it was so perfect. The flooring, the wallpapers, the fireplace, like the creepy fireplace, these really creepy dining chairs they're so perfect. So I used a lot of that. I also repeated this really big chandelier a lot, which is also from Life and Death. So all the stuff from that pack was absolutely perfect for this. And I was really trying to embrace the dark aesthetics here. So normally what I would like to do is I would put a dark floor and then a somewhat lighter wallpaper. But for a lot of these rooms, I just went for black on black or gray on black, that type of a thing. So that's essentially what I went for. Across the hallway from the formal dining room, we have a really small study area. That's how it was shown on the floor plan that I was working off of. So that's what I did. We have a really small little library here. These bookcases, again, from Life and Death, were absolutely perfect for this house. And for like a library like this, absolutely perfect. So that's what I ended up using. Also, a lot of the creepy Grim Reaper artwork was really nice because the Grim Reaper just kind of looks like a Death Eater from this. Like, if you're building with Harry Potter in mind, the Grim Reaper looks like a Death Eater. So that's pretty cool to like have a picture of that and multiple pictures of that in the house. And then after I did the main floor, I went to the basement, which is normally something I would do last. But since the basement is such a iconic area of this house that is used the most by the Order of the Phoenix, I figured I would do that first. And that's also where we have the kitchen. So down here we have this really long dining table. I essentially placed two 6-seater dining tables, or they're 8-seater dining tables. I think I placed chairs. I ended up placing 2 chairs, on either end of the table, so we have 2 extra chairs as well. So the entire order can gather here. There's more than enough space for everyone. These life and death art pieces were perfect, like the posters and stuff. I was kind of imagining these ones to look like Death Eaters that the Order of the Phoenix are looking for, or people that they have to watch out for, or maybe like newspaper articles that like things that happen that they have to keep track of, stuff like that. I was kind of imagining that to be on the wall there to keep track of everything and keep everyone informed as well. And then on the table, I basically just placed a whole bunch of magical looking clutter. I also put some muddy paw prints here and there because obviously Sirius needs to watch out, needs to be careful because the Azkaban basically is looking for him. The Ministry of Magic is looking for him. He needs to be sent back to Azkaban. So obviously he can't really leave the house unless he is in his dog form. So he does that a lot. And so I thought it was fun to place some muddy dog paw prints wherever I could. So that's what I did here in the basement as well. And then I really didn't have a lot of space here to place a lot of decorations because it's a pretty narrow space, especially with that really big dining table in the middle. But I was able to place a couple of basement kit clutter items here and there. We also have a really cute, really cozy and sort of out of place looking Christmas tree here, but that's Molly Weasley. You know, I could have used the other Christmas tree, which looks a little bit more, I guess it's a little bit less colorful and a little bit more muted, I guess, but this one is it's such a contrast when it comes to the rest of the interior here that I thought it would be fun because that is Molly Weasley. She'd be like, you know what, we're gonna spread some Christmas cheer in this basement by placing this really colorful and cozy Christmas tree. So that's what she did. And then here we have a really nice kitchen. Like I said, I think in real life, I guess isn't really something you could say, but I guess the way it's described or shown, the kitchen is smaller than this, but I just had a lot of space to work with, and I actually kind of liked the vibe of a really big kitchen for this really grand townhouse, essentially, is what it used to be back when the Blacks were living in it. So I feel like they would even have multiple house elves just working in the kitchen and stuff, which is why I essentially just placed 2 stoves, 2 sinks, 2 fridges, because I have the space for it, and I kind of wanted to try to create that sort of vibe where they have multiple house elves always working for them in the kitchen, you know, that sort of stuff. Prepping dinner, making food, stuff like that. So that's what I went for here, and I basically cluttered it up as well. I really like how this kitchen came together. I just used these base game countertops here in a black swatch, of course. Again, I was embracing the black on gray, whatever kind of black swatches I could find for stuff. So that's what I ended up doing here. I was going to use the stove and stuff from the Realm of Magic pack, but it just didn't really look right, so I ended up not going for that. I did use this base game stove, which I think looks really cool. And then obviously I had to place a bunch of brooms on the wall. I almost forgot about that, but those brooms from Realm of Magic were perfect. So I placed those on the wall in the hallway leading to a bathroom. There is no bathroom on the ground floor, so the main level of the townhouse, but there is bathrooms for basically any other level other than the ground floor. So there is one in the basement here as well, and then for each floor, but I did not end up recording the rest of those bathrooms because that would have just been a little bit too repetitive, I feel like. So I didn't actually do that. But here in the kitchen, you can see that it's definitely been used. I feel like Molly Weasley is always busy in here trying to make everyone feel at home, making baked goods, cooking nice food. Maybe Dobby would be helping her. He probably isn't because Dobby doesn't really return until Deathly Hallows when Harry, Ron, and Hermione are looking for the necklace type of Horcrux, you know? So that's not, I think Dobby comes back around then, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not exactly sure, but so he probably wouldn't, but I could totally see Dobby just hanging out in the kitchen here with Molly Weasley, cooking nice things, helping out. Oh, Dobby is so cute. I love Dobby so much. But yeah, here downstairs in the bathroom, in the basement, we have a bathroom, which is a nice full bathroom with a shower tub combo, a sink, and a toilet. And essentially, I just repeated those same items for each bathroom, just in a slightly different layout. So after the basement, we're moving on to the second floor of the house, which is where we'll have a really small bedroom, which is going to be the one for Harry and Ron to share. There is the formal living room up here, actually sort of the only living room. So the living room, I guess, where we have the tapestry with the family tree on it. And then there's also a bathroom down here. So we have a pretty spacious landing here that I just turned or tried to sort of make cozy, I guess, with a creepy chair in the corner. I also use a lot of stuff from vampires in this house because that was just really, really helpful, and that was definitely the vibe. I tried to create like a bookcase sort of around the door into the living room, but it didn't really work out. So I just ended up placing my trusted life and death living bookcases here because they're so gorgeous and they work so nicely. And I tried to not use a lot of actual lamps in this house, and instead I just used a lot of candles and chandeliers and stuff like that to really make use of that more creepy lighting, if you will. It's also kind of more cozy, but in combination with the rest of this house, it's sort of like giving cozy or creepy vibes, which is exactly what I was going for. So we have lots of chandeliers, not a whole lot of lights. Sometimes I used some actual like wall lights if the lights were just prettier looking, you know, but for the most part, I just used little candles on the wall everywhere. So this is the living room where we ended up placing the family tree tapestry. Of course, we just have really weird, creepy portraits throughout this entire home. These cool portraits from Get Together were perfect for this house. And then I definitely placed another one of those fireplaces here. I think I used it in one of the bedrooms too, but I could be wrong. Maybe, I think I also used the Realm of Magic fireplace at some point for this build, which was really fitting. But I thought the raven from Life and Death was cool, or the crow. I always call it a raven. It's not a raven, it's a crow. But yeah, I placed that in the living room here because that was just definitely something I feel like the Black family would have. I also placed a lot of urns just in general throughout this house. I definitely feel like that is something the Blacks would have. And then just a lot of candles and old books and stuff. These couches, again, from Life and Death, were just perfect. I also placed these closed, like drawn curtains from the Vampires pack, especially now that the Order of the Phoenix are using this house. I feel like that would be nice because obviously they need to be very secretive. Not that anyone can see this house, but you know, it's still, you still gotta be careful because you never know. So I feel like that would be a little realistic. And then to add some color, I guess, to this, I just placed a couple of throw pillows. I kept most of them in black, but then I also added some brown, which I know, very, very colorful. Definitely a nice splash of color with brown. But then here I did add this green chair. I really liked this green color for the rug, which is such a Slytherin green. So I felt like that was a really nice touch as well. And then this matching chair was perfect. And another urn, of course, for the cozy vibes. And then I placed this tapestry. I was kind of, as I was furnishing and building this from the beginning, I was trying to think of an item to represent the tapestry with the family tree because it's such an iconic item, so important for this house. And then I realized we literally have this tree on a green tapestry type thing from Vampires that could work perfectly. I know the tapestry in the Black house is actually a lot bigger, like it's more wide, and I think it takes up the entire wall. It's a lot bigger than this, but you know, I really liked how this one looked, and I feel like this represents it pretty nicely as far as the items go that we have available to us in The Sims. I think this is a pretty good one, so that's what I ended up going for. I know it doesn't represent it perfectly, like it's not exactly the same, like it doesn't look the same, but that's just what we're going to have to work with because we are building in The Sims, so there's definitely restrictions when it comes to that. But I feel like that tapestry with the tree was came pretty close to what I was looking for, so I decided to embrace that and just go for it. Then here we have a really, really tiny bedroom, and I thought that was perfect for Ron and Harry to share, so I placed a double bed, or not a double bed, a lofted bed here as well. So we have two beds in here, and then there's just a tiny dresser. I placed a suitcase. And then I also placed a really tiny desk. And this is where I remembered to actually go through and also place some cobwebs and some cracks on the wall and stuff like that, because we do want this to look like a really, really old house that is in not a great state. I think that when the Order first started gathering here, they really, really had to go through this house and make it livable because it was just really old and abandoned and gross and just really not a nice place to be. So they really had to go through and clean it up, which again, I feel like Molly would definitely take seriously because she wants everyone to feel at home and sort of feel like they're with family and they're in a safe place, even though, you know, whatever is going on in the world and whatever location they're at, that's just Molly. She wants everyone to be happy and to feel safe and at home. So she would definitely try that. We're moving on to the 3rd floor, and this is where we have a couple extra bedrooms. Basically from now on, we're just decorating bedrooms. So we have this landing here. I really like how the landings turned out. It was definitely a struggle to make it work, but I really like how they turned out with the open staircases looking all the way down. I'll obviously show you at the end of the speed build when I'm giving you a tour of the place. But then this bedroom up here is going to be for Ginny and Hermione to share. So even though it is still in the black house in 12 Grimmauld Place and there is black floors and black wallpapers, I tried to make this one look and feel a little bit lighter and a little bit more girly, so to speak, because it is for Ginny and Hermione to share. So I was kind of trying to look for ways to sort of represent that. So we have somewhat lighter bedding here. We have some sort of lighter, I guess, picture frames, like the blue silvery picture frames with the flowers in them. I thought that was nice. Some more colorful picture frames with creepy portraits in them. A lighter sort of beigey gray rug on the floor as well. We have a nice mirror here, some cozy lights on the nightstand. So you can see that even though we have these dark aesthetics and like the creepy vibe going on, I still try to make that bedroom look a little bit more girly in that sense and just a little bit more cozy. Then behind a bookcase door, because the way the floor plan worked out, I could only place a 1-tile door into this room. I didn't have any doors available to me that looked nice. I could have, I guess, used the same door I used for the bathroom, but I just didn't really like how that looked. And I thought a secret bookcase door was just the perfect thing to use in the black house. So that's what I ended up going for. So behind the bookcase door is a nice bedroom here. Maybe it didn't used to be a bedroom. Maybe it used to be like a secret library or whatever kind of thing, like a secret study. But it is now turned into a bedroom for Lupin and Tonks to share. So I was imagining this is where they would sleep. It is just a very basic bedroom with a lot of blacks and darker colors going on. And then the smaller bedroom next to it is going to be for the twins, for Fred and George to share. So again, I tried to go for a little bit of a playful approach for this one because it is for the twins, you know, and I really tried, even though it's not their actual homes and their actual bedrooms, I sort of tried to represent these people's, like these characters' personalities a little bit throughout, you know, the rooms, like the bedrooms. So we have a nice, I guess, a more playful looking bedding going on for the lofted bed here, and we have a desk here. I also placed a trunk, which I thought would belong to one of the twins. That is their Hogwarts trunk, or maybe it's like a trunk where they save all their inventions and like the candy and stuff, the trees that they're working on. That's also definitely a possibility. And then they just have a small desk in here and a chair. It's a pretty simple bedroom. There is not a whole lot to it, but I tried to make it lived in. I went through to place some cobwebs, which actually in live mode, those cobwebs have real spiders in them, and I absolutely hate that. I hate that so much. It's perfect, but I hate it so much. I also, in a couple of the rooms, actually placed those cages. I feel like those look perfect for like owl cages, to sort of represent owl cages, which is definitely something you see throughout the movies and the books as well. So I tried to sort of place those wherever I could on desks and stuff. And then we're moving on to the final floor of this house, which is where we have another bathroom and then 2 more bedrooms. So the bigger bedroom is going to be for Molly and Arthur to share, so for the Weasleys to share. I also figured I really needed to place this pipe organ thing. I do believe that in the floor plan I was looking at, there was like a grand piano in the formal living room, but I didn't really have the space for that. The room was a little bit too small. So I figured a pipe organ here on the upper floor of the townhouse would just be perfect and just sort of creepy. So that's what I went with. I found some extra posters and stuff that I thought would be perfect for the twins' bedroom, so that's what I did. But then there's a really small bedroom right here I thought could be perfect for Sirius. And for Sirius, I placed these baby pictures. I was kind of thinking that that could be a baby picture of Harry that he has in his bedroom. I thought that would be really, really sweet. I also placed a picture of a lady with a baby, and I was thinking maybe that was Lily with Harry when Harry was just born. I don't know. I just thought that that was a really cute little something to do to kind of represent the lore and the fact that how much, like, to kind of represent how much Sirius loves his godson and how much he misses his best friend James and Lily, of course, too. So that's kind of what I was trying to represent here in the bedroom. Then obviously I had to go and place some muddy paw prints as well because this is Sirius's bedroom after all. And then this bedroom on the upper level is the largest one in the house, and I figured this could be a cool master bedroom, which now is being occupied by, like I said, by Molly and Arthur Weasley. So that's where they stay. I thought this bed was cool. I think I swapped it out for a different one because I just couldn't find a swatch that I was happy with. So I decided to just repeat this bed from Life and Death that I already used in another bedroom as well. But I thought it was so nice, and I used this green bedding on it because I feel like green Slytherin, you know, is just the right color to use for the black house. So that's what I ended up doing. They have this fireplace, this magical looking fireplace from the Realm of Magic pack in here. I thought that was just absolutely perfect. Another urn, and then I was just sort of unsure how to fill up the rest of this bedroom. But I placed some really nice dressers, like some really tall dressers, and I also put a vanity in the corner here as well, which I thought was nice. I'm not sure how much Molly would actually make use of that vanity, but of course this furniture was already here, like it just belonged to the Blacks before the Order of the Phoenix moved in here. So yeah, there's just like a nice vanity in the corner here. I placed a hanging plant to at least use some green. There's not a whole lot of greenery, like not a whole lot of plants in this house in general, which I feel like is realistic and sort of like makes sense for the situation. Of course, they do have some Christmas trees, which makes up for a whole lot, but other than that, there's just not a whole lot of plants or cozy vibes in general to this house. So yeah, this bedroom is pretty spacious, but I kind of kept it spacious. I liked it like that. I felt like that sort of made sense, again, for the situation. But I really do like this magical touch with the fireplace. I thought that was just such a nice thing to add. And then I placed some decorations on the fireplace mantle as well that I thought would make sense. I repeated this little parchment and feather kind of like ink thing from the Life and Death pack a lot of the time. Like I placed that many times throughout this build because it was just so perfect. And then I felt like I was still missing some portraits, so I placed some extra portraits here and there. But then that's it. So let's jump into the game and I'll show you 12 Grimmauld Place in real time. So here we have 12 Grimmauld Place in the game. I set my game to winter and I love the colors for winter time. It's just a lot more gray. One thing I actually didn't mention in the speed build is I did not furnish the neighboring townhouses. Those are just shells. I just focused on the middle house, of course. So if you wanted to furnish those and create a floor plan and stuff for them, you could still do that, which I think would be kind of fun. But of course, you can see here we have the front, so the facade, and it really looks like the middle house just sort of magically pops up in between the other two. So I think that comes across pretty nicely. And for the rest, I just really try to blend it in. We have some benches, some plants. Everything is looking kind of dead now because it is winter time in my game. In the back here, there is a small play area for kids, a little playground to use. We have some creepy swings here and some monkey bars to play with. I did sort of decorate these backyards for the neighboring townhouses. I mean, very scarcely, but there is a little bit of furniture going on in there. And for the rest, I really tried to keep it quite simple. So let's go inside. This is where we enter 12 Grimmauld Place, and of course we have this hallway going on where we have the portrait, and as you can see, when I move up to the top floor, you can see that this hallway ceiling is really, really tall. I thought that was a really nice feature to kind of try to achieve in The Sims as well. So that's what I ended up doing. Of course, the lighting glitches, but it's fine. So yeah, here we have the hallway. There is the iconic portrait with the curtains, of course, and then just like some other portraits and random urns in the hallway. We have some muddy paw prints here, which are of course Sirius's. And then there is another small hallway here that leads into the formal dining room. And as creepy as this looks, everything is cozy with a Christmas tree, so I feel like that definitely helps. So there's a fireplace in here, an 8-seater dining table, a lot of china cabinets in the back here, some creepy spell book. Not exactly sure why that's there, but I figured that was a cool item to use in here. Across from the formal dining room is the tiny library. So there's just a bunch of tall bookcases in here, and then a small desk and a diary type thing. In the back here is where we have a couple staircases. So first, let's go down into the basement, which is where the Order of the Phoenix spend most of their time, I want to say. There's a fireplace in here, a cozy Christmas tree in the corner, some extra bookcases, of course. And then over on this side is that really nice and tall dining table that is cluttered. We have a bunch of letters and books and drinks, and there's just a whole lot of discussing and like talking going on here, I feel like. So I just placed a whole bunch of clutter. We have a bunch of posters and artwork on the wall. And then over here, of course, is the kitchen, which I actually really like how this one came out. It's really big, but I just feel like it looks very lived in and cozy, weirdly enough. So there's a bunch of food out, and then just like all these clutter items. I love these stocked fridges too, like that's just so fun. And then there's another cooking area going on here. So we have a double stove in this kitchen and a double sink as well. Some potions to make it look a little bit more magical, but yeah, I really like how this kitchen came together. And then on this side here is a small hallway. It's very narrow, but there is a storage closet in here, which I feel like that would be creatures area, essentially. There's a bunch of brooms on the wall, and then at the end of the hall here is a bathroom. So this is just a very simple full bathroom. Then going from the basement to the second floor of the house, this is where we have the formal living room and the first bedroom. So there's a landing area here where I just placed some extra bookcases, and then this first door leads into Ron and Harry's shared bedroom. So there's bunk beds here, and then just a bunch of clutter and clothes on the floor. A splash of orange in this bedroom because this is where Ron sleeps, so I feel like that would be kind of fun. And then there's a small desk in here as well. A bathroom here, which is very simple. I just copied this bathroom over for the other floors too, so it's nice to have that. And then here we have the formal living room, which is nice and cluttered and somewhat, now that I'm looking at it, it's somewhat cozy. I don't know, I like the rug and the colors and the throw pillows. There is a fireplace in here, some art, portraits, and then of course a Christmas tree. And then the most important thing of this entire build pretty much is the tapestry with the family tree. So we have that here. It's not perfect, but it represents the item pretty nicely, I want to say. And there's also a globe bar in here. The next floor has this really cool open landing. I just really like how that looks. I don't know. The staircase situation is a little bit messy, but I feel like it turned out pretty well for the most part. So this first door here leads you into the girls' shared bedroom. So this is for Ginny and Hermione to share. Like I explained, as much as it's like dark and creepy still, I try to go for a more girly approach for this by using some lighter colors where I could. The next door, again, is that same bathroom. Then behind this bookcase door, I really like that creepy touch, is this bedroom that is being used by Tonks and Lupin. So this one's pretty simple, but you know, it's just black and very dark. And the smaller bedroom over here is for Fred and George, the twins, to share. So this one's a little bit more messy, which makes sense because it is for the twins. They have a bunch of posters. They probably already broke this desk, you know. Yeah, this is for them. And then the final floor up here, we have another one of those really cool open staircases, and this is where you can really look down like 2 floors, and I think that's so much fun. There's some portraits here and some other art pieces, the pipe organ. The smaller bedroom over here is for Sirius to use. Like I explained, I have some baby pictures of Harry, and this maybe could be a picture of Lily and Harry, though Harry was only 1 year old when his parents were unalived, so that couldn't really be it. But anyway, this could be like a cute memory. Of course, we have some muddy paw prints on the floor because that only makes sense, and then just some clutter in the bedroom here. And then over here is the master bedroom, which is now being used by Arthur and Molly. I love this creepy rug with the crows and the death flowers. It's just so black coated, you know? So there's this nice bed in here, a double bed. There is this magical fireplace in the corner, a bunch of dressers, a nice vanity table. But then that is essentially it for 12 Grimmauld Place. So 12 Grimmauld Place is up on the gallery. I uploaded it at nighttime because I thought that was just the right vibe for the screenshot, so that's what I did. It's insanely expensive, almost 322,000 simoleons. It is a huge house though, so it kind of makes sense. It has 6 bedrooms total and 4 bedrooms total, and I built it on a 50 by 40 in the world of Brightchester on the lot where by default there is that really big library located. So if you want to place it in your game, then that's where it goes. But that's it for today's video, so I really hope that you enjoyed this one. You can obviously go ahead and download this one off the gallery like I just showed you. My username on the gallery is Simmary Sims. You can follow me on Instagram and on TikTok if you like. My username on there is Simmary Sims as well. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, feel free to do so, and if you'd like to get notified of every single time I upload a video, just click that little bell icon and you should be fine. I also live stream over on Twitch a few times a week, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and give me a follow over on twitch.tv/Simmary Sims. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!